In 1950, Senator Joe McCarthy charged that our State Department employed 200 known communists. McCarthy couldn't produce a single name, but this irresponsible accusation launched a 4-year witch hunt that ruined hundreds of innocent people. Since the start of the Cold War, many Americans were paranoid about communism at home. The government investigated 3 million federal employees. Teachers in some states were forced to sign loyalty oaths or lose their jobs. In Indiana, a member of the Textbook Commission claimed that Robin Hood glorified the Marxist philosophy because he robbed the rich to give to the poor. Senator McCarthy flourished in the Cold War atmosphere of suspicion and fear. Without evidence, he accused some of our best artists, entertainers, and government leaders of being communists, and convinced many of us that Reds in America controlled our minds and our lives. When he attacked the Army and their counsel, Joseph Welch, he went too far.
I get the impression that while you are quite an actor, you play for a laugh. I don't think you have any conception of the danger of the Communist Party.
Until this moment, Senator, I think I never really gauged your cruelty or your recklessness. If it were in my power to forgive you for your reckless cruelty, I would do so. I like to think I'm a gentleman, but your forgiveness will have to come from someone other than me.
May I say that Mr. Welch talked about...
Following the Army hearings, McCarthy was condemned by the Senate and became a national embarrassment. By 1954, most Americans were trying hard to disown him.
My name's Jimmy Stewart. Before I came home, I heard a lot of things that made me worry a little as to whether this was still the same America I grew up in. Of course, I wondered when I heard about a couple of crackpots here and there that wanted to make things different. Then I heard from...
During the McCarthy era, white Americans experienced violation of their civil liberties for the first time. They didn't like it. As soon as it was safe, many whites joined liberal causes and campaigned for political freedom.
I joined because I'm pretty grateful for the kind of country that gave me my break. And I've learned that all Americans are the same kind of people.
Shirley Temple.
At school, we were all taught the value of teamwork. Well, good grief, America was built by all of us working together. And our whole future depends on you helping him, and you helping her, and all of us helping each other. I'm for it.
Eddie Cantor.
You know, the most wonderful sound in the world is the laughter of a free people. No tyrant in history ever had a sense of humor or a sense of tolerance. Here in America, we have both. Let's keep them. Let's join the brotherhood.
Jennifer Jones.
One nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's America. And I love America. I know you do, too.
Katharine Hepburn.
Hate is a disease. People who talk hate and people who organize for hate are worse than typhoid carriers. If we want to keep our democracy healthy, we must wipe out this disease.
And here's Edward G. Robinson, who will read you the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to this basic ideal of my country. Fair play for all. I pledge myself to keep America free from the disease of hate that destroyed Europe. In good heart, I pledge unto my fellow Americans all of the rights and the dignities I desire for myself.
For black Americans in the early 50s, there were few enforced rights and even fewer dignities. At the start of the decade, blacks still didn't exist as people for many white Americans. But in 1954, the Supreme Court ruled that blacks must be treated as equals, starting with public education. The 9 justices ruled unanimously
that racial segregation in classrooms was unconstitutional and that all states must proceed with deliberate speed to integrate their public schools. The decision caused a furor, especially in the Deep South. But the next year, the justices extended their desegregation orders even further to include public golf courses, swimming pools, playgrounds, and public parks. The same year, the Interstate Commerce Commission ordered the integration of interstate transportation and terminals, including this rest stop between Louisville, Kentucky and Nashville, Tennessee. Some conservatives resisted change with ropes and guns. Lamar Smith and Reverend George Lee were shot to death in Mississippi while registering blacks to vote. And a young clergyman from Alabama, Dr. Martin Luther King, was jailed for leading a massive black boycott against the bus company in Montgomery. In 1957, Governor Orville Faubus sent the Arkansas National Guard to stop the first blacks from entering Central High School in Little Rock. President Eisenhower federalized the Arkansas Guard and sent in the 101st Airborne to make sure integration kept moving. By 1958, many educators felt that the only people who cared about what went on in classrooms were Southern blacks trying to get in and Southern whites trying to keep them out. At liberal arts colleges, at least, students were more into campus life than calculus. And being a big man on campus and popular with peers had a much higher priority than getting good grades. The success of the Soviets in space changed our easygoing attitudes toward learning only a little. Most of us didn't worry about the science gap or Russia's superior education system. We were an overindulged, under-politicized, apathetic generation of undergraduates. And so passive, one university president said of his 1959 graduating class, "Employers will love this group. They will be easy to handle. There won't be any riots." We listened to the learned educator. And we were very glad to know that our children would continue to be quiet, obedient, and respectful of authority, at least through the 60s and 70s.